help you with this assignment in your packet. We're going to be using trigonometry to find angle measures. To do this, you need to use a calculator, and I want you to go to Desmos.com on your Chromebooks. When you go to Desmos.com, you can click on the graphing calculator button here in the middle. The very first thing I want you to do is go to the top right corner and click where it says Graph Settings and change the mode to degrees. That's very important. If you don't change the mode to degrees, all of your answers will be wrong. So we're going to be using Desmos to answer the questions on your worksheet. If you're watching this video, you're going to understand what to do, but you're also going to get some answers. Number ones, these are really easy. The first six are very simple. It says tangent of A equals 2.0503. And the question asks us to find each angle measure to the nearest degree. Now, when you have a problem that has a tangent, once you go to Desmos, you'll notice that if you type in tangent of A equals 2.0503, that's not going to give you anything. That doesn't help you out at all. We want to get rid of this tangent right there. We want to see what A is equal to. So in order to get rid of tangent, we need to do what's called the inverse of tangent. So you're going to go down here to the keyboard button, go to Functions, and we're going to take the inverse of tangent. This is tangent to the -1 power. Whenever you see something to the -1 power, I want you to think that that means inverse. So we'll say tangent of -1, and then very simple, we're going to take this number here and type it in. When you hit enter, and as you type in the number actually, you're going to see the number, and that is exactly what we're looking for. This is the measure of angle A. So your answer for number one, after you round your answer, should be 64 degrees. All right, let me do number 5. It's a little bit different. Again, if you type in cosine of V equals 0.6820, that's not going to give you anything. That doesn't help you out at all. What we want to do is get rid of this cosine so that we can figure out the measure of angle V. So again, you're going to go to your keyboard, the Functions button, and we want to do the inverse of cosine. And again, in the parentheses, we're just going to type into that decimal 0.6820. And you'll see we get 46.999, and we'll round that up and say that the measure of angle V is 47 degrees. Again, we're rounding to the nearest degree. So the first 6 are very simple. You just type in the inverse of whatever trig function you're given, and then the number, the decimal that's in the problem. Now on the bottom, numbers 7 through 14, it's really going to be the same last step, but what makes it more difficult is that we need to take the first step. Let's look at number 7. We need to find the measure of this missing angle. To do that, we're going to use a trig function. Now, you should really get in the habit of when you see a right triangle, be able to identify the 3 sides: hypotenuse, adjacent, and obtuse. I'm looking at this triangle here, and in relation to this angle, this is my opposite side. 51 is my opposite side because it's across the triangle. This would be my adjacent side here, but we don't have a number for it. And then because this 55 is the longest side and it's across from the right angle, this is my hypotenuse. So I want you to think about this thing we have to remember, our trig functions. Sohcahtoa. This is sine, cosine, and tangent. We look at sine here. I have opposite and hypotenuse in the ratio. And in this triangle, I have the opposite side and the hypotenuse. Now, because I have the opposite and the hypotenuse, I'm going to use the sine function to find this missing angle. I know that may be a little bit confusing. Hopefully, as we do more examples, you'll understand it. But just to explain it really quickly, we cannot use cosine for this angle because we don't have the adjacent side, and in cosine you need to have the adjacent. We also can't do tangent because we don't have the adjacent side. So what I know to make a ratio out of this, I'm going to call this angle question mark. Let's see if it'll let me do that in Desmos. We can say that the sine of this question mark angle is equal to 51 over 55. That's just my trig ratios. But you'll notice that again does not help me solve the problem. Instead, just like what we did at the top of this worksheet, in order to find the measure of this missing angle, I need to use my inverse trig functions. And because we're dealing with sine here, I'll do the inverse of sine, type in 51 over 55, and you'll see that the measure of this angle, I think it wants us to go to the nearest tenth, no, nearest degree, would be 68 degrees. 68 degrees. So again, set up your trig function or your trig ratio, then go to Desmos and do the inverse of that trig function. Let's do another problem. Maybe one without sine. Okay. This is number 12 on your worksheet. Looking at this problem really quickly, I can already tell that I'm going to be using the tangent function because in relation to this missing angle, I have the opposite side, which is 8, and the adjacent side, which is 20. Now, I could say that the tangent of this question mark angle is equal to opposite over adjacent, 8 over 20. But again, that does not help me do anything. So in order to find the angle measurement of this question mark or missing angle, I go and do the inverse trig function, so the inverse of tangent, and then I type in my ratio, and I see that the measure of this angle is 21.8 degrees, but after we round to the nearest degree, that would be 22 degrees. All right, so I hope this helps you. I gave you 4 of the answers to this worksheet, and I would like you to finish all 14 for this assignment. Good job.